Sorry, buddy.
Florida happened too. There's a house under the ground there, and you pass it. You remember?
produce. Absolutely.
Going this way, and he was just standing with his back to me, just like the tree line was going right through his shoulders, and I could only see about half of his shoulder and head. I couldn't even get into the details of his head. It was just the shoulders. This thing's shoulders were this wide, and he was every bit of 7.5 inches tall. But the color, what was the coolest part of the whole thing was when my light hit him, it illuminated his hair, and like I saw through, and his skin was purplish black. Like Aborigine color. It was not at all, I guess, what I was expecting. And it just had an oily look to it. It was such a quick, split-second thing. I clicked the light on, and it got scared and clicked it off because I jumped. So I was literally from 80 feet away from this thing. I could have walked over, probably goosed in his butt. And I literally got so scared when I turned the light on and turned it back off that I walked out. And I went down, and I'm coming out, and I turned back towards my friend Tim, and he was, when the thermal going, I'm like, he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, did you see that? He's got it on thermal. He's got a thermal image standing there. I don't know if it had moved off, but there was a thermal image of that tree right there where he was, we've got him on film somewhere. I was hoping he'd bring it with him today, but this thermal image is right there, kind of confirming what just happened. And that's my story.
Well, I'll tell you one more story before my time is up. A while back, I think it was in 2015, I was with another guy. His name is Eric, and we were up at the Crystal River. All right? Anybody ever been up the Crystal River area? That is a hotbed of area up there. All right? Well, he has a cabin that him and his brother built on a place called Tiger Island. Okay? Every morning we would come to this place called Treasure Camp. It was a restaurant right on Crystal River. Now, Eric had been going in there, going up to the waitresses, trying to get, hitting them like, hey, we're Bigfoot hunters. Trying to impress them. It didn't work all right. So anyway, we came in one morning, and the manager came up and said, hey, you may want to talk to that couple over there because I think they saw something. So I look over on the other side of the restaurant, there's a middle-aged couple, both dressed in camouflage. And the gentleman was he was a tall dude. And the wife is just like, got her finger in his face, just, and he's like, baby, calm down, people are looking. So I look at Eric, I said, should we go over there? And he says, I don't know, man. She was kind of upset. I said, well, let's just go over there. The worst she could do is, don't want to talk to us. So I walk over, and Eric's, behind me, and I said, hey, man, sir, the manager said that you guys may have seen a Bigfoot. Well, she stands up and on the table, and her husband goes, I told you I was a Bigfoot. You didn't believe me. Why did you make me come out here? I hate you. I'm never coming out here again. So he's like, baby, calm down. And, everybody's looking. She sits back down and she was crying and stuff. And finally, what we found out, it took a while, was that that was her first time out in the woods, first time hunting. He took her down the Crystal River, put her in a tree stand, all right? And then he took off and went to a different tree stand way out of sight to where she was at. She fell asleep. She woke up with something pulling on the ladder. And she said she looked down and saw this large, hairy-looking creature. She said it was, I said, was it big and, well, I asked her later on, I said, was it bulky? She said, no, actually it wasn't very bulky. I could see the muscle structure in it. And she said it looked like a Bigfoot in very good shape. And it had a very human face, reddish hair all over its body, and it was just staring up at her. And she said she looked at it, and she didn't know how long, probably a couple seconds, and she started screaming for her husband, and this thing just walked off. And I said, did it walk real quick? And she said, no, it just kind of walked off. And her husband comes walking, running up and stuff, and he's like, and he said it took him forever to get her out of the tree stand. I mean, she wasn't coming out of that tree stand until Bigfoot left the planet. That's how bad she was. So he got her out down, and they got on the boat, and they went right to Treasure Camp. That's the name of the restaurant, by the way. And we got in there, and that's when we had to run in. Of course, and again, like I said before, they could tell me everything I wanted to know. I mean, this lady was telling me what she did when she got up, what they had for her. I mean, it was just, because again, it's a life-changing moment when you see these things. And of course I said, could have been somebody in a ghillie suit. And she said, no. I know what a ghillie suit looks like. I know what you're talking about. No, this was a large, hairy-looking man, a Bigfoot, and it was looking up at me. And I said, well, could you take us and show us where it is? She said, you crazy? I'm never going back out there ever again. So anyway, her husband gave us direction. Eric, of course, screwed up the directions, so we went down and couldn't find the tree stands. But Crystal River does have a history of activity out there. Every now and then, if you go, you'll hear some stuff with some hunters go out there, some fishermen out there. I mean, not to mention there's lots of lost gold out there too, but it's there's one of the sightings that I really believe this lady saw something. I mean, just the reaction to her and how she said it had very dark eyes. Every question I had, she could answer without even just going, let me think, I mean, she said she could see the muscle structure in this animal. When it walked, she could see the back moving like this when it was walking. I mean, it was really, I wish I could have made it out to that site, because I really wanted to see it. But again, the manager told me every now and then they get a hunter or fisherman who come back and say, hey, I saw a large monkey out there. You got monkeys out there, So, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, out of Merritt Island, not too far from NASA, there's been sightings out there. I mean, somebody said, where in Florida do you see them? All over. All from the Panhandle down to, of course, you got the Everglades, and there's always something going on down there. I like going to the Everglades looking, but they have the biggest doggone mosquitoes I've ever seen in my life. And nothing kills them suckers, too, So, I mean, you try to spray them with bug spray, like, stop that, and it keeps you know. But, and then I had one incident here where I had a friend of mine that I had made friends with, and he ran a survival class down in Punta Gorda with some, he used to specialize with teenagers. And he went out to this park and he would send them on a little route with a compass, and they'd have to go straight out, do it, and do a pace count and come right back to him, learning how to use a compass, keeping it straight. Well, he was sitting on the park bench and these two boys come walking back in and you think you got us, didn't you? And he's like, what? He goes, trying to scare us out there, some guy in a gorilla costume. You know, and Kevin's like, what are you guys talking about? I said, well, we did what you said. We went down to the end of the road, and then we look over on the other side, and over on the fenced-in area, and there's a guy in a gorilla costume. Well, he said, you're going to have to show this to me. And then the kids are like, okay, this is getting a little real now, because he's not laughing, you know. So he took him down to the end, and it turned out when it's a private property, there was a creek, a berm, and then a fence. And they said the thing was on the other side walking. And then the kids are looking, I'm like, you aren't playing a joke on us? He goes, this is a survival class. Why would I be playing a joke on you, you know? So he called me about it, and then I said, hey, can I talk to the boys? And they said, well, the parents said no. So that was dead in the water right there. Great story, and it would have been really good to hear it, you know? But unfortunately, it went nowhere. Do I think something happened? Yes, just the way the boys, he said, the way the boys were reacting. You know, because again, they thought it was somebody in a girl costume, you know? So, but anyway, I have had the privilege of working with a lot of investigators. I was up with some investigators one time, and this is where I had my experience. We were up, you folks have watched that show, Finding Bigfoot? Yeah. Do you remember the episode with the bridges where a Bobo fell off the stairs? Well, anyway, he came down these stairs and he fell down the stairs. Anyway, we were at that property, okay? And Mr. Bridges, that's the gentleman's name, who, for the record, has never seen it, okay? His wife has saw some stuff, but he hasn't seen it. Anyway, we went up on, with a group of investigators, we broke into two groups, and one of the investigators let me use his thermal, all right? So I was scanning the thermal, and all of a sudden I see something standing out in the middle of the field. Now, initially I thought it was a poacher, because Mr. Bridges told us, be careful, I have poachers on my property. And to be honest with you, if I was going to tell you what it looked like Captain Kirk when he beams himself down. You know that little posture? That's what it reminded me of. And again, I thought it was a person, and I handed the thermal to Stacy and said, hey, dude, there's somebody standing out there. Well, he got the thermal, and whatever it is, he took off running. I mean, it was enough to where he said, wow, it's gone. Well, we went out there, you could see where it was at. We put another guy out there who stood 6 foot. I went back to where I was standing. I knew exactly where I was standing because there was an old broken down tractor. And I remember standing next to it, and I was avoiding it because I was scared I was going to get, you know, stuck with some old rusty from the tractor. And I pulled up the thermal, and I could barely see him. So David is 6 foot, so whatever it was a lot taller than David. And I said, holy cow, there really was something out here. You know, because again, I thought it was a poacher at the beginning. And one last thing I asked Mr. Bridges, I said, when did you find out or know that you had some kind of on your property? And he said, when I was having the house built, I had some people putting carpeting in. And he's an architect. So they called him his property, the people putting the carpeting, and said, hey sir, do you have any kind of weird wildlife on your property? And Mr. Bridges is like, weird, what do you mean, bears or something? He goes, no, it's not a bear. We're out of here. He slammed the door and they took off. Well, Mr. Bridges calls up the carpet company and they say, yeah, apparently the people putting the carpeting saw a Bigfoot in the base of your house on a creek. And they left. And he couldn't get anybody to get out there and finish his carpet. He had to call a whole new carpet company to come out there and finish his carpet. So, again, he's never seen it. But, again, that's some stuff I wanted to share. But, you know, again, if you folks have any stories, I'm right over there. I'm putting together a new book, but I want new stuff. All right? I want to thank Marty for having me come out there and do this. I love hanging out with people that do this stuff, you know, or into this stuff. Because, I mean, it's awesome. You know? So again, thank you folks. All right, thank you so much.